Welcome back. In tonight's explainer, we're not just, reading scary stories around a campfire. We are literally breaking down the anatomy of terror. We're diving deep into the hidden dangers, the terrifying supernatural entities, and honestly, the incredibly deadly human mistakes that basically invite these things right in. Think inescapable traps, crippling psychological tension, and pure primal fear. We're going to decode the exact moments where victims completely sealed their own fates. Okay, I want you to picture this absolute psychological nightmare. The sun goes down, you're inside, you think you're safe, and then you hear a voice. And it's not just some random voice. It's the voice of your own mother. A mother who, by the way, passed away a long time ago. But there she is, outside your door, begging, "Let me in, I'm right here." This exact horror actually happened to a young boy named Dev. And it leaves us with a terrifying question. If she's dead, how is she standing at your door? And more importantly, are you going to open it? So let's jump right into chapter 1, the fatal survival mistakes. Because surviving these cursed legends, it's not about how strong you are physically. It's about avoiding 4 absolute death sentences, ignoring local rules, unearthing cursed artifacts, putting blind faith in the wrong people, and trusting shadows in the dark. And look, these horrors, they span across centuries. Like back in 1626, King Vishwajit faces off against this incredibly deceptive entity in the forest. Jump to centuries ago, you've got a deeply cursed princess being sealed away in a tomb. But hey, don't think for a second these are just ancient myths. Just last night, the 7 p.m. Khandwa village curse struck again. And right now, today, a shape-shifting predator is literally hunting people on our modern highways. These ancient evils just seamlessly bleed into our modern world. They never stopped, they just evolved. Which brings us to chapter 2, breaking the village rules. We are taking a deep dive into the foggy, heavily cursed limits of Khandwa village. Let me tell you, when you step into a territory that has survived a supernatural threat for generations, you better believe their rules are written in blood. So what exactly happens when the clock strikes 7 p.m.? Imagine the sheer psychological tension. You're in a village where every single evening warning bells start ringing out. If you're caught outside after 7, you are dead. Period. But it gets worse. Just opening your door or even peeking out your window means certain death. Why? Because the entities lurking outside will literally mimic your deceased loved ones to manipulate you into letting them inside. It is absolutely chilling. So how do you even survive that? Well, locals like Dev's father, they rely on a super strict code. Step 1, get inside before 7 p.m. Step 2, draw the curtains. You have to hide. Because if you look out and see the faces of your dead family members, your psychological defenses are going to completely crumble. But the ultimate failsafe? Step 3, hanging a sacred Rudraksha garland right on the door. When Dev's deceased mother, or, the entity wearing her face, came up to his open door, that Rudraksha was the only thing standing between him and certain death. It acted as an impenetrable barrier. Brushing off these local rules? That's your first fatal mistake. Moving right along to chapter 3, disturbing the cursed tombs. Let's leave the foggy streets of Khandwa and head over to a horrifying archaeological dig in a remote cave. This is where a government official completely ignored all the local warnings and smashed right through an ancient sealed wall. Never, ever a good idea. And what did they find? Princess CHANDRAPRABHA. Guys, this is not your typical throw things around the room poltergeist. CHANDRAPRABHA is an ancient, incredibly stubborn entity that possesses the living. But the true horror is how she operates. She doesn't just, turn you evil. She takes your own natural, everyday desires and totally amplifies them into fatal, uncontrollable obsessions. It's terrifying. Your own mind is literally weaponized against you. Let's break down the anatomy of this curse because it is wild. Step 1, the cursed tomb is unearthed, releasing the entity. Simple enough, right? But then, step 2, the spirit latches onto a victim and severely amplifies a hidden desire. And finally, step 3, complete loss of free will. That desire turns into a fatal obsession. And if anyone tries to stop the victim from fulfilling it, the possessed person will brutally murder them without a second thought. And the consequences we saw in the source material are just horrific. Take Mangala. She liked buying new clothes, right? Totally normal stuff. But possessed? She was driven to such a sudden, extreme obsession with saris that she murdered her own neighbor just to take hers. Then there's Ram Kishan, a dedicated farmer. Under the curse, he farmed until his physical body literally gave out. He even beat a wild wolf to death with his bare hands. And Rohit, poor Rohit, was driven to a demonic, murderous rage over unrequited love, killing his crush's father just to have her. The fatal mistake here? Pure hubris. Thinking modern science could somehow safely handle ancient curses? Big mistake. Now we hit Chapter 4, Blind Faith in Demons. Look, in a crisis, people are desperate for a savior. We get it. But putting blind faith in the wrong person without questioning their methods, that is a terrifying death sentence. And that brings us to an isolated village and the extremely dark cult of Moloch. So to the entire village, this priest, Agoram, he was a holy savior. The guy performing rituals that supposedly brought prosperity, stopped droughts, cured plagues, the whole 9 yards. But the twist here is shocking. Agoram wasn't praying to some benevolent god, he was a demonic worshiper. He completely manipulated the village's fear, somehow convincing them that sacrificing their own innocent children was like totally necessary for their survival. But in reality, he was just feeding those innocent souls to a demon to secure a 7-year cycle of immortality for himself. Just picture this scene in the dark, ruined temple. Agoram stands in front of this massive statue with a bull's head and a blazing fiery furnace for a stomach. Agoram tossed a child right into the fiery stomach of that Moloch statue while chanting these dark mantras. And it wasn't to save any crops. It was just to feed the demon. The most eerie, unsettling realization here is that the villagers, utterly blinded by their faith and fear, were violently protecting the exact same monster that was destroying them piece by piece. All right, which brings us to our final and easily most chilling mistake. Chapter 5, Trusting Shadows at Night. Traveling at night through cursed territories is obviously inherently dangerous, but the real danger isn't actually the dark itself. It's what's hiding in it, pretending to be human. Enter the Chalawa. This is not the ghost of a dead person. It is a highly intelligent, shape-shifting supernatural predator. It hunts specifically on lonely highways, creates these massive, mind-bending geographical illusions, and flawlessly mimics human beings. It preys entirely on your visual perception. It wants you to trust your eyes. But it has one single, fatal flaw. It casts absolutely no reflection in a mirror. And this trap was laid out perfectly for our couple, Manoj and Anu, along with their truck driver. I mean, they literally made every mistake in the book. Traveling at night completely against all local warnings, stopping to eat at this totally empty, unnatural roadside dhaba at 10 p.m., following a silent, ghost-like wedding procession, which, by the way, is a classic Chalawa illusion, and before they knew it, they were falling straight into an endlessly looping forest road. The creature just weaponized their impatience and exhaustion, hurting them exactly where it wanted them to go. The tension in this sequence is absolute nightmare fuel. Okay, so they're hiding in this abandoned, creepy hut. One of the helpers is already dead, throat completely torn out. The truck driver starts seemingly losing his mind, accusing Anu of being the demon, and he picks up this heavy wooden stick to attack her. Manoj steps in, de-escalates it, and the driver drops the stick. But then, the driver slowly bends down to pick the stick back up. And as Manoj watches him bend down, he catches a glimpse of a dusty mirror leaning against the wall, and he realizes the driver had no reflection in the mirror. None. He wasn't possessed. He was dead. The Chalawa had already taken his form entirely. In a split second of pure adrenaline-fueled survival instinct, Manoj grabs a heavy clay pot, smashes it over the Chalawa's head, and sprints into the forest with Anu. And honestly, they only survived because the rising sun forced the creature to vanish. The monsters in these legends, they don't just overpower you physically, they outsmart you. They use your dead loved ones, your deepest hidden desires, your blind faith, and even your own tired eyes right against you. So I want you to ask yourself, if you were trapped on a pitch-black highway with someone you thought you knew, would you notice their missing reflection before it was too late? Keep your eyes open, respect the hidden dangers, and seriously, whatever you do, do not open the door after 7 p.m.